Welcome to Down the Vale, the official Livingston FC podcast in partnership with Taylor Talks Trades. We're here in their podcast suite for episode 4 with potentially Livingston's most handsome ever footballer, Andrew Shinnie. How are you, Shins?
Yeah, I'm good. I was going to say you could argue with that, but I'll back myself there. So
who else is in it?
Over my time at Livy? Chipper's up there, aye, for the older... what are you trying to say? That's the same age bracket.
Same fringe?
Aye, nah. You had Gowser in, I think, earlier. Me and Gowser are doing well for the 35-year-olds. So
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's been, maybe not a lot of competition over the years.
Nah, thanks very much for coming on. Appreciate it. I know we've taken a wee while to sync diaries and things like that, but we're here now. So we will have a run through of your career. We'll touch on all the good stuff, move on to Livingston, and then go from there. Do try and tie in with our previous guest, which I know you would have watched, is Ryan McGowan. Yeah. Did you know Gowser before he was kind of within the Livingston environment? Oh.
Yeah, I've known Gowser. Well, I haven't known him personally very well, but me and Gowser played against each other all in the youth years. He was at Hearts and I came through at Rangers, and we had a lot of battles. We still have a laugh about that. I think he was a captain at Hearts, I was a captain of the Rangers youth team, so we had some really good battles. They were a good side, and I think I played against him down south a few times as well, and we've crossed paths quite a lot. So yeah, I was well aware of him before he signed. He has had about 1 million clubs, to be fair. It took us a while to go through his career history the last time. I can imagine, yeah. Well, unluckily I wasn't involved in any of the Chinese ones that he was at, but yeah, we played against each other a few times.
He did try and say he didn't go for money, but I'm still unsure.
That's not what he says in the change.
What we're going to do is, I've got 10 quick fire questions. I'm going to break them into 2 5s. So we'll do an initial 5 and then we'll do the other 5 when we come to the Livingston stuff.
Right.
I picked 10 because we believe you scored 10 goals for Livingston. There was talk that it was 11. The Cove Rangers won away. Was it one up for debate?
Obelai?
Yeah.
No, Io scored.
Io scored.
I'll be honest, aye.
Perfect.
I thought it was me and he bloody stuck his big leg out and tapped it in, but Io.
There was so many debates within our media team whether it was 10 or 11. We've watched footage back.
Maybe I'll take it.
We still couldn't get there. So
maybe we'll just give it to me 11.
I'll give you a few.
Need to add another question in.
Exactly. We'll go with 5 just now. Aberdeen or Inverness?
In terms of what?
Either or. Just
what? Football or a place to live?
Both.
Or Aberdeen.
Andrew or Graham?
Graham.
Scotland call-up or scoring a goal?
Scoring a goal.
Who's angrier, Davy or Neil Lennon?
What, at the worst?
Yeah.
I'll go Davy.
And finally for just now, just pick 2 classic midfielders, Zidane or Iniesta.
Oh, Jesus.
Or if there's anybody else in that sort of bracket, then throw them in.
Zidane, they're probably 2 of the best, 2 of my favourites, but if I had to go, I'll go just Zidane. I think he was just really classy, unbelievable midfielder.
It's just something about Zidane in those
beds.
Yeah,
it's just the name, just everything, the way he looked. Iniesta was arguably the best of all time, but yeah, Zidane, unbelievable. I
was going to throw Xavi in there, to be fair, well, because I'm more of a Xavi than an Iniesta man.
Yeah, but he's made, it depends what job. He was probably just unbelievable taking the game over, but Iniesta had that wee bit of magic. I think he was in his boots, same as Zidane, but probably go with Zidane.
Go with Zizou, fair. Let's go through your kind of career, Andrew. And I believe it started up Dice Boys Club, is that right?
Yeah, Dice Boys Club. I did start at my local boys club, Cove. I'm from Cove, so Cove Boys Club when I was really young. I think my dad was the manager for a bit. I think he might have got sacked for swearing at the kids because we were too young. But
how old were you at this stage?
Probably like under 10s or something. He was passionate, he still is to this day. But yeah, I was there, and then I think it was my dad who just took control of that. I think he noticed I had potential, and I think he thought to have a career at Dice was the way forward because they were a well-known club up in Aberdeen, and they had scouts come to the game, and if I was to get a career it would be a good team to get scouted from, so I ended up at Dice.
They are kind of well-known throughout the country, as you said. We've had 5 players that have made it internationally from kind of Dice as well, which is quite impressive. Yeah,
they've got a great list of players that have done well. It was a great club to come through. We played I think I played a lot of teams from down this way. When I speak to some of the boys, Hutchie Vales, like Tynecastle Hearts, teams like that, we had some good games. But yeah, done really well when I was there. The coaches were good, and my dad knew the people there, so I ended up there. But then I didn't really get picked up till a wee bit later. So I was at times I thought maybe I'd missed the boat becoming a player, but luckily I managed to get scouted by Rangers, and it all went from there.
Was there players within that environment that you thought maybe should have went and made it and didn't, coming from that sort of age?
Probably not any well-known ones, but obviously I think a massive part of that's the support you've got around you and your family. And I did see a few players who definitely could have been top players, but they didn't really have the backing. I think even my dad would go and pick up certain boys and take them to training to give them a chance if they were from sort of poorer backgrounds and try and help them. But if you don't have that support network behind you to take you to games, to take you to training, it's difficult to forge a career, and luckily I had that with my parents. So yeah, there's definitely people who've probably missed out because of that, which is a shame.
Yeah, absolutely. I say there has been 5 players from Dice who've played for Scotland. Can you name them? There's 2 very easy ones.
Me?
Yeah.
Me and my brother.
Yep.
Stuart Armstrong.
Yeah, very good. 2 slightly older ones. Centre half and a centre forward.
Anderson? No.
Russell Anderson.
Russell
very
Anderson,
good.
yeah.
Very good.
And what was the other one? A forward?
Forward.
From Dice. What, for full Scotland?
Yeah.
So is he from up that way?
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
Aberdeen. Did he play for Aberdeen?
I think he did. I think he had a spell there. I think he now manages within the Women's Premier League.
Not too sure.
Scott Booth.
All right. I wouldn't have got that.
No. But it's quite impressive.
I know Scott Booth, yeah. Russell Anderson was decent.
Russell Anderson's very good. Russell Anderson's very good.
Take that.
Stuart Armstrong, in terms of the hair flick.
Yeah, I know Stuart. I played against him. I know him quite well. So, and Dice actually made a book not that long ago, and they sent it because Brucey played for Dice as well.
All right, okay.
And they sent it to the club. It was a big sort of a book about their history and the amount of players that have played, and obviously Stuart was in that along with a lot of other players, so it was quite a good read. Stuart
had a very good, or is having a very good career, isn't he? He's done very
well. It was funny, he came through at Dundee United when I was at Inverness, and they had an unbelievable team. They had Mackay Stephen and Chief G and all these players, but I always remember when we played them thinking, like, for me, Stuart's the best. Quality. He was so fast, powerful. He had that pace and quality, but people seem to rave about a few other players a bit more. But it just shows what he's done in his career. He's a great player, and he's still, I think he went to, was it America or Canada?
Went to Vancouver or something like that,
but he's come back already. I think he's in the championship again.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, top player and really nice guy as well.
Is he? Yeah. Is it one of these ones that he didn't obviously not get the credit, but he's come through with Mackay Stephen, and Mackay Stephen's quite flashy and he's quite tricky and everything else, where Stuart does the other bits of the game
probably
really well.
Yeah, probably the YouTube clips and things like that, but to be fair, Chief G and that was really good as well.
Superb.
Ryan Galls, they had good players, but Stuart was just effective and he was dangerous when he ran with the ball, and he was, as I said, he was quick off the mark and he had pace and quality, so I wasn't surprised to see him go on and probably arguably do the best out of them all.
Yeah, absolutely, would agree. Your move to Rangers comes 2006. How does it come about, first and foremost?
It was luckily for me, I'm not sure why it happened because of the rivalry between the clubs, but Rangers opened a training school in Aberdeen to try and find players from up there. I'm not sure if that would happen now, but luckily, because Aberdeen scouts came to watch me a lot of times when I played at Dice, and I remember doing really well, and they never came for me.
I never got the phone call.
Yeah, I'd play a game and I'd think I've done well. My dad was probably thinking that as well, and the phone never rang, and you were thinking, I've got no chance here.
Yeah.
Rangers opened a training school, and I remember Colin Grant was the scout, I'm sure that was his name, and the first game he came to watch me, I remember it was against Stonehaven at their place, and I played really well. I was really up for the game. I think I maybe knew they were watching.
Right.
I don't know if I knew, but I just remember I was really up for that game and I played well. And it was back in the day when your dad gets the phone call and he leaves the room and you just think, what's that? That's interesting. He came back in, my dad just said, look, that's Rangers on the phone. Would you like to go in and train with them?
Yeah.
They're opening a school here. So yeah, went in there. It was quite a lot. They invited a lot of players in. And I just started training there and went down to Murray Park every now and again for training during school holidays, things like that, and I ended up showing enough to get a professional contract.
So you obviously go through that kind of relocation eventually. Like, how do you feel kind of leaving your family and everything else up there? What's it like moving to Glasgow?
It was exciting.
You in Diggs?
Yeah, I was in Diggs when I first went down. I stayed in Kirkintilloch. There's actually a guy called Mick Oliver.
Right.
Don't know if you're aware of him, but he was like an agent and things now. He might work with SFA or something, but Yeah, I moved in with him and another lad. So that was basically meant to be a home from home, look after you and make your dinner and do your washing, whatever you need. You just come and concentrate on your football. So I don't think I was too concerned about moving away. I think I was excited just to become a footballer. It was a chance for me. So I moved down and I was in digs for about a year and then we actually got kicked out. One of the boys got accused of swearing playing FIFA and things like that. But to be honest, I didn't enjoy the digs part. When I moved out and got into my own place, I enjoyed it better.
Yeah, you feel a bit more settled, and did that reflect in your kind of performances and training and things like that, do you think?
I'm not sure, but I wouldn't say the digs massively worked for us. I don't think, it's maybe a bit harsh me saying it, I don't think they looked after it maybe as well as we should have.
Yep.
It cost us a lot of money as well. Out of it was our first wage, and a lot of it went to the digs. So when you look back, it was quite expensive for what we were getting, and eventually we moved into our own place, and I had to start learning life skills of cooking and looking after, things like that. And obviously back then you don't massively enjoy it, but it's probably done me well. Well, my wife would argue with that, but like nowadays I like cooking, I enjoy cleaning, things like that. It's probably because I've learned it from a young age.
Absolutely. Did you have kind of jobs to do and things when you were kind of in the environment? It's not so much a thing these days, is it?
Yeah.
You see wee Cody and Evan helping out here and there, but it's not.
It's nowhere near what it used to be. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, to be honest, but I was actually put on Walter Smith's boots and Ali McCoist and Kenny McDowell, the staff.
Yeah.
And that was daunting. I had to go into their changing room and get them. And I think the first day I went in, but Jimmy Bell was the kit man, and he was very big on standards and everything being precise.
Yeah.
I think I'd done them the first day, and I'm sure he came to me the next day and said, listen son, like, don't worry, I'll take care of that, because I think he polished them and scrubbed them until they were absolutely gleaming. So yeah, he sort of took over, because I don't think he wanted the manager and that to ever come in their boots not to be absolutely spotless. So yeah, I probably got away with that. But then new coaches came in, Billy Kirkwood, who is linked with Livingston. I've seen him in photos and in the club.
That's right.
Billy was my coach, got on really well with him, but I think he was maybe a little bit OCD. So the indoor hall at Rangers was a big indoor AstroTurf. He'd go around that whole thing looking for the tiniest bit of paper or whatever, and if he found it, we wouldn't be allowed to leave. So everyone had to make the place spotless, which was good. Good standards for the young boys to have to obtain to, and it probably has gone out of the game now.
What other kind of jobs did the other boys do? Obviously, you've got does everybody kind of have
similar?
Boots?
Yeah, they had to do laundry. I think they maybe mixed it up every year or whatever, but boys would do. The balls had to be pumped up to the specific pressure gauge. I think the boys still do that at the club, but players can tell if a ball's too hard or a ball's too soft. It's actually a precise job. The gauge is there and you have to get it right. So boys would do that, the kit, things like that, maybe clean the changing rooms, clean the indoor hall, like the bibs, all the things like that. But the boys were really good at it, because you wouldn't get away with it at Rangers. Yeah,
absolutely. They've obviously got exceptional standards, even in terms of you see them now turn up suited and booted and everything else. And
yeah, it's the way it should be. It's the way every club try and do it. We try and do it at ours, but I think it has fallen away a little bit. You have to be careful now, I think, in life, which isn't a bad thing. I don't think people should be treated poorly, but I think as a young player it definitely gave you a grounding to grow up and be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk to me about your debut.
Well, it's actually a weird one. It was back when they had to have 3 under-21s on the bench at the time. So it was a mixture of any of the youth players. Well, there was normally a group of us, but it could have been any of us be on the bench without any real chance of probably getting a game or coming on. That was the
kind of tick box almost.
The realistic view, yeah. And I think Walter came out and spoke a lot how he was unhappy with the rule. And when I look back now, I can understand why, because he was leaving out top international players for young players, when maybe the smaller clubs in the league played their young players anyway. But then I get why they were doing it as well, to try and, because you look now, I think there's hardly any young Scottish players coming through the ranks. Absolutely. Which is disappointing. So, but I played in the morning for the 19s against St Mirren, I think it was, and I scored a couple of goals, played the full game, went from there to Ibrox, was on the bench against Aberdeen, funnily enough. My friends were at the game in the away end, things like that, but the sheet of paper went over and I was on the bench, so I was like, happy days. Experience at Ibrox, going out and warming up was amazing, being in there with the players getting ready. And
were you thinking bonus at this stage as well?
Yeah, we got the bonuses.
As a kind of young kid, I don't mean that kind of disrespectfully.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah, we were.
You're thinking I've maybe not got much of a chance to get on. I'm going to get X amount.
We got the same bonus as anyone. It's more like a pro rata now, where if you start, you get a certain amount. If you come off the bench, you probably get a wee bit less. Things like that. But back then, it was straight for the whole team.
Yep.
So you genuinely really wanted them to win. A lot of the times they did win, but I'm sure we were 3-0 up. And there was about 15 minutes to go, and I think Ali McCoy just said, like, Andy, go and get warm. So I'm like, go and get warm. I'm like, I had a game a few hours ago. So I went out, done a warm up, just out there thinking I'll warm up. And then not long after I got the whistle. No, when they're pointing to a sub, and I'm like,
you're thinking,
is that me? Can't be me. You. So I'm like, oh, okay, happy days. So excited.
Yeah.
Obviously a bit nervous as well. Ran back in. The game was pretty much done. We were 3-0 up and cruising. So came on for Dado Perso. Dad still got the photo of it in the house, sort of high-fiving Dado Perso, which is quite cool. And came on and done fine. Won the game 3-0, I think it ended, and got a few touches of the ball, and didn't realise at the time because there's such a massive rivalry and hatred there. But my friends were all on their way in, so they must have hated me back then. Even my wife's dad's a massive Aberdeen fan, and I'm thinking back then he must have not liked me.
Absolutely.
But
hi, I'm Andrew and I play for Rangers.
That's what he done in the wedding speech.
Was it?
I think his wife Pat came home and said, listen, I got news, Amy's got a new boyfriend, he plays for Rangers. She was like, don't say it. I was like, I think he said don't take him to the house. Things like that. But we get on really, really well now. But it was a great day. Obviously, I only played 15 minutes. I think I might have been close to getting cramp as well. the fans must have been thinking this guy's not fit enough to play for Rangers. But yeah, I played 90 odd minutes in the morning and then came on in the afternoon.
How good was that dressing room? There's obviously huge stars in it. I've kind of listed a few, but kind of no disrespect to anybody else. But Barry Ferguson, Dado Perso, Chris Boyd, Charlie Adam, Alan Huttons. Are you a wee bit kind of starstruck within that sort of environment as a kid? Yeah,
definitely. Even Walter Smith, when he used to come in to do the team talks, I haven't seen an aura like it since probably. Yeah. And that's not really from my coaching side. It was just the man management and the aura side when he would come in to the changing room to do his team talk. And yeah,
like Sally McCoist and things like that.
Yeah, people are going around. I look back and you're rattling them names off, and I was a part of that squad quite a lot. Obviously, I had to be, whether or not. I do genuinely think Walter liked me. I was involved in a lot of squads and pre-seasons, and I picked up a few foot injuries which hampered me a lot. I do think he quite liked me, and I was involved a lot. But yeah, to be around them players gave me a great experience in my career that I've tried to take forward now when I'm older, and I try to speak to younger boys, and I don't think they understand what it was like for me when I was a younger player, training with these guys who would not give you any leeway if you gave the ball away. If you were being sloppy, they were on your back. Nowadays, if you do that, it's a bit like, give over, like give it a rest a wee bit. When you're thinking, I'm nowhere near what these guys were like to me.
Wee bit kind of sulky almost.
Yeah, and you guys don't kind of sometimes like it, and it gave me a good grounding, and it's a great way to grow up, and to have played with some of them players and train with them is unreal.
Did you have somebody in particular that you did look up to in your kind of position that you'd maybe watch in training or watching games when you weren't involved?
Not really, but just players like Stevie Naismith came in from Kilmarnock and he was doing well, and boys like that. Stephen Davis, unbelievable. One of the best I've trained with and sometimes played with, just for his stature, and that unbelievable player. And we used to get tickets for the games to go and watch, so I'd go to the games and watch, and we'd be in the club deck, and I would just sometimes be taken aback and think, how do these guys play here? Like,
it's so intimidating.
Yeah, like they're like, and I've been told that like the bravery it takes to go and play at Rangers, especially when you're struggling and you go 1-0 down in games, who's going to be. Ian Durant was my coach for a spell, and that's what he sort of said. You're going to be able to go and take the ball at Ibrox when you're 1 or 2-0 down and the fans on your back. That's the players who can make it at Rangers, and even to this day it's still a difficult place.
Well, I think you look at what they've been through kind of recently, it kind of does show all that. So for that to happen for the last at least 15 years, then
well, the fans never change. They'll be there no matter what.
They've got standards.
Absolutely, and they demand it from the players, and if they're not doing it, they'll absolutely tell you. And it's a very difficult pressure. It must be. There's pressure at all football clubs, but the bigger clubs with the bigger fan bases, it must be difficult at times.
As an away player going to the likes of Ibrox, we'll come on the other stuff, but is it a case of trying to get them frustrated as quickly as possible, almost by maybe creating a chance or having a corner or whatever that may be, and just getting their fans on their backs almost? Is that
pretty much? I imagine a lot of teams, that's their team talk sort of game plan. The so-called smaller sides in the league, what else can you do? You can go toe-to-toe if you fancy it, but if you find yourself 2-0 down after 10 minutes, then
it's going to be a long
you're worried. You're worried about a long day, which some teams have found that out. But the sort of is that just frustrate them. You know, the longer the game goes and it's 0-0, the fans will get restless and they'll get on their back a little bit, and then it's how brave they are to take the risky pass, play a bit. And we've showed that at Livingston, at Celtic Park and Ibrox, Tynecastles, Easter Road, places like that. And it is difficult to be them players. I've been at Hibs, I've played at places like that, and it is hard. And it is, when you're fully expected to win a game of football, it is tough unless you get a couple of early goals, then it can be a long day. Yeah.
You got a loan move to Dundee initially. What's your kind of thoughts behind? Was that you kind of pressing that to go and happen, or did you get approached and say, look, we think you should go and play?
I can't really 100% remember, but I'd imagine it was maybe they came and said to me. Jockey Scott was a manager, and I think he was quite friendly with Walter and the staff there, and that happens in football sometimes. They maybe said, listen,
got a young kid here.
We've got a player here, he's a good lad, he needs a bit of experience. Would you like him? And a lot of the sometimes smaller teams will take loan players from an old firm team, so I ended up going there. I can totally remember being there, and it was a great experience, but whether football wise how much it helped me and developed me, I'm not too sure. I travelled from Glasgow every day up to Dundee and back at a young age. I drove the minibus a few times, which I shouldn't say because I wasn't meant to, but the boys said, whose turn is it? And I never thought they'd say me, but I was like, somebody said, I don't think Shinnie's done it yet. And I'm like, I'm 18 here or something, like surely you're not big gear stick rattling about and that. But as we probably said, life experiences, it was actually good fun with the boys, and I ended up having another loan spell not long after that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What were the kind of comparisons between Jockey and Walter? Both kind of old school managers at that stage. Was there comparisons?
Honestly, like, it was that long ago, I can't massively remember being on the training pitch my first stint. I remember the second one, Billy Dodds came in with Gordon Chisholm, I think. Jockey left. But I think if I remember rightly, in that season we were doing well, and then we just went, I think we went downhill quite a lot, and was it Inverness maybe caught us in the league or something like that. But yeah, I can't massively think back. I don't remember too much about that loan. I just remember having some good times with the guys in the changing room, and I do remember playing games at Dens Park, which was always fun.
First professional goal? Came in the dark blue.
Was it at Dundee? Wasn't Airdrie, was it?
Livingston.
No, it wasn't. Was it?
That's what I've got.
Where about? At Dens Park or at
Dens.
Livy? Was it?
Dens. 4-1 Dundee win. I have.
I do really sort of recall that game, but I didn't remember it was at Livingston. We'll need to try and get that in the archives.
We'll get the footage.
That'll be interesting to watch.
That'll be for Blair. You've got all this. It's all you, Blair.
Hopefully.
After Dundee, you head back north. Go for kind of Inverness.
Yeah.
You've kind of been released by Rangers at this stage as well. What's your kind of thoughts at this stage? You've just been released by a huge club, which you've been involved in for 5-6 years at this stage. What's your kind of thoughts?
It was a weird one when I left, because at Rangers they sort of you always got an extra year on your contract, sort of, because you're due compensation until 23. So I think if you're a talented player, they always sort of tried to keep you on the books, I think, just to see if you would make it, and if not, if anyone wanted to come and get you, I think they would have to pay. But I think I maybe left before that, but I remember that summer thinking they're probably going to maybe give him another year. I'd had an injury, maybe give him a chance, one more year. Jimmy Sinclair was head of youth, and he pulled me in. He just sort of said, listen, there's nothing there for you next year. We're going to have to let you go. And it was a weird one, because I was actually quite relieved in a weird way, because I knew I had to move on. I wasn't going to play for Rangers, I didn't imagine by that time, but I was thinking if they give him another year just to sort of keep me around, that could stall my career a little bit. So I was obviously gutted, because I wanted to make it there, and I thought I had a little chance, but it was a bit sad. But then on the other side, I was thinking I can go and forge a career for myself here, and let's go and see what options I have. And I was a bit naive. I thought there would be people falling over themselves to sign me because I'd left a club like Rangers and I was a good prospect, but it wasn't like that. It was quite slow really, and had to go on trial and things like that, and I managed to get up to Inverness. I actually went...
Did you go on trial elsewhere?
I went into Kilmarnock with Kenny Shields for a while. That was a funny story as well. I can't remember the full details, but Inverness used to do an 11v11 at the end of the season, bringing players up from England, release players basically. Yeah. So my brother was obviously signed and playing every week there, but they phoned and said, would you want to come up play in this trial game? And I went from my brother coming to watch me at Ibrox to obviously me going on trial. No, it was just a V11 against trialists to see if they could unearth some gems, you know what I mean? So they said, do you want to come up and play in it? But I just thought, nothing to lose. I'll go up and hopefully I can show enough. So I went up and played in it, and I thought I'd done well and told my dad I've done well, and didn't hear anything really back. My dad's thinking, you told me you had a good game.
Done all right.
I thought I did. But
is he swearing at you again at this stage?
He's probably calling me all sorts. And then I can't remember how it came about, but Kelly trained in Glasgow, I think, then at the science parks maybe, and I lived in Glasgow still, and they said, look, come in and train for a week or a couple of days and we'll have a look at you. And I went in there on the Monday, and Terry Butcher phoned my dad, absolutely fuming. He must have got wind of it, what's going on? Dad was like, well, he hasn't heard anything back, and he said, I phoned your agent straight after that game saying I want him in the first day of pre-season. That's what I can recall. My dad was absolutely fuming.
Was he?
Spoke to my agent at the time, and I'm sure my agent said something like, judging by Terry's demeanour, I didn't think he was too keen, so I didn't really mention it. So my dad was like, get yourself up the road. I trained at Killie a few days. They said, you've done okay, but can you stay in the full week? Just there's a few midfielders like you. I think that Dean Shields, things like that. Played in the number 10. I was a 10 at the time. Can you stay for the week? Have a look at you. And I was a young boy. It was difficult to say no. So I was like, I'll see if I can do that.
Almost intimidated into saying you.
But I knew I was going to go up the road. So as soon as my dad got on the phone, he said, get yourself up to Inverness. So I just went up to Inverness and had a few trial games. Basically a bit of training to see if I was fit enough and good enough, and signed for them.
How is life up there? It's obviously a little more isolated and everything else, and you're away from the world, it feels like, when you do go up. But how is it actually living in that sort of...
It was an unbelievable time. Me and my brother got a house together. I obviously moved away at a young age, so we lost a lot of years together. So when I moved back up, we managed to get a place together, and it was just me and him every day, just going to training, going playing pool, playing PlayStation together, making dinner. Just a really good time. Probably didn't appreciate how nice a place it was to live. Being young, you probably lounge about a lot and play FIFA and go to play pool. But now when I look back with my family, and that would have been an unbelievable place to live, to see the Highlands and visit loads of nice places.
It's beautiful up there.
I think people go up there and from England and that, and they ended up moving there permanently, even if they don't play football anymore, just because they love it. So love living there and love playing.
You had a very good record up there in terms of kind of goals and things like that. I've got you down as 19 and 57, so pretty much 1 in 3. Were you that number 10? Was that what you were at that sort of stage?
Yeah, I was an out and out 10, and the first season, so when I was a youth player at Rangers, I broke my 5th metatarsal twice, which put me out for 4 or 5 months both times. That's what hampered me when I was there. So I ended up moving on. I got 2 operations for that. One was in Glasgow, and the second one was at one of the main foot guys in London who done like Rooney's metatarsal before was it Euros or something?
Euros or something like that,
The Rangers took me to him just to say, look, we'll get it fixed properly. So my first season at Inverness, I found it really hard, to be honest, when I first signed. When I look back now, I wasn't fit enough to play first team football. I wasn't ready for it. I was coming from youth football. The first few months were a struggle. I wasn't playing well. I was really struggling for form, and I'm probably taking a wee bit of flack and things like that. Probably running about stupidly when you're trying to make an impression, wasting a lot of energy, and it was a struggle.
Trying too hard.
Yeah, it was a struggle at the start.
What is Terry Butcher like in that sort of situation?
Terry's quite good. He's I can't ever say a bad word about him. My brother had a really bad bit of Crohn's disease when he was up there. He had to go in for emergency surgery, and it was really, really bad. And he was up at Graham's bedside every day after training. Really, really good guy. He's obviously passionate about his football and could get angry, but really, really nice guy. And I can't really remember back then. I just remember coming out of the team and played quite a lot of friendlies against Highland League teams and really got my fitness up. And then once I came back into the team after that, something just clicked, and my fitness was there, and I took off really. I started playing well and scoring goals, and I remember we played Dunfermline away in this, I think it was a replay in the Cup, and we were on a really good bonus. It was on Sky. But I was on the bench, I think, with the guy Lee Cox, who was struggling a bit, and they said, look, if he's fit, he's playing. If he's not, you're in. But he ended up playing. But he came off at half-time, and I went on. Right. And I remember the first shot of the second half, basically the first minute, and my other foot, I just knew I'd broke my metatarsal.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Same feeling, same
feeling. I had a shot, and I just knew. So, and it was just start of the half. I didn't say anything. I just played on. So I played on like the second half, and it went extra time. But see, with the adrenaline, I was okay when I had the ball. But when the ball was away and I was walking, I was in a lot of pain. But it went extra time. I ended up scoring a really good goal in the game in extra time, and then we got another one, and we got through. But I went straight to A&E when we got back to Inverness at like 3 a.m. The doctor came in and said, you've got a fracture in your fifth metatarsal. And genuinely was contemplating whether that was me with football. Inverness, well, that's another operation. We'll get you an operation. It's going to be another 4 or 5 months. And I was thinking there must be something with my mechanics here, because none of them were tackles. It was all just turning or planting my feet. I remember Inverness were sort of saying, we'll take you to the surgeon in Edinburgh, and that. I was like, no, I need to go to London. And they'd never done anything like that with their budget. The physio was like, I'll need to speak to the chairman. I was like, listen, I understand it. It'll be fixed, that'll be it. And they thankfully they did it for me, and touch wood, since that I've never had any problems with my feet. And the second season I played nearly every single game in the 10, and I think I scored like 16 or 17 goals that season and done really well.
Would have been quite easy for them to say no in that situation because of budgets and restraints and everything else, and sorry, you follow our medical plan and whatnot, and
absolutely
you kind of would have just had to deal with it
definitely if they
or pay for it yourself.
Well, I definitely couldn't afford it to do that, but if he had said that, I would have just went for it and got. I mean, it might have been fine, but
mentally you maybe don't have the same level of confidence and
definitely,
stuff.
I remember I went down and the guy put a titanium pin. I had a metal one in. The guy said it's just rigid, it's stuck. There's no movement in your foot. He knew. He was unbelievable. He knew what he was doing, and he spoke to the chairman and they put me down. It was in Chelsea, I think. What was a hotel? But a hospital in Chelsea. I think that was one of the main costs, was the room, to stay over at the room and that. But thankfully, I really appreciated they done that, and my feet have been fine since. So, and hopefully I sort of repaid them back in my form the season after.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a kind of fruitful League Cup in terms of goals, 2 against Arbroath, scoring at Ibrox in a 3-0 victory, scoring the semi-final at Easter Road, but lost out to Hearts in the final. Yeah,
remember that game. I think Danny, I'm not sure. I think Danny Wilson might have been playing.
Might have been.
I know. I think Holty was playing as well.
Yeah. Would have been that sort of era, I suppose.
Yeah, it was a tough game. I remember they had 18,000 there, and we had 2,000 maybe. But it was sort of just an away game in Edinburgh. But we were a really good team back then, and we took the lead. Scored in the second half to go 1-0 up, and I think it was the big guy Ngog or Ngu or something from Liverpool.
David Ngu.
Yeah, I think it might have been his first game or something. He equalised, and then we had a couple of unbelievable chances in extra time. Just Billy Mackay had a tap in, I think, squared across goal, and he took a touch and it kind of got stuck under his feet, and it went to penalties, and 5-4, only one person missed, and it was the last penalty for us. So that was devastating, one of the worst in my career really, because me and my brother, we'd all went on and played in a cup final together, because we both played every week. So when I look back, yes, that was a sad one.
Kind of family on the stands and stuff as well. It would have been quite a nice occasion, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think my mum did. Genuinely, I think my mum was hiding when it went to penalties, in the kiosk bit. She didn't watch. It must be daunting to watch, because I always say, do you not trust me in a pen shootout? But yeah,
not with those metatarsals.
Definitely, that's probably what they were more worried about.
Exactly.
But scored it, and Graham scored, but it was just unfortunate. A young lad from Arsenal was up on loan and he put it over the bar, I think, and Hearts went through. And I can't remember the final. I think St Mirren maybe beat Celtic that year as well.
I think they might have.
It was Hearts St Mirren maybe in the final. So me and my brother could have went on to lift a trophy together, which would have been special, but it wasn't to be.
Who were the best players in your kind of Inverness days?
We had a really good squad. My brother was a brilliant player. He played left back more then, up and down, great link-up player, very intelligent player. We had Billy Mackay. Me and Billy struck up a great partnership. He was on fire.
Was Richie Ford in there?
Richie was there, yeah. He was our captain. Yeah, unbelievable character.
Because he was at Inverness a few times. He went to Motherwell and stuff as well, didn't he?
Yeah, a bit of a madman off the park, I think, but great guy and very good captain. Would protect the boys no matter what.
Yeah.
To the club, and real tough man. Like, you wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of Richie. So yeah, players like him, Ross Draper, Tudor Jones, Big Meekins, and Gary Warren at the back. Players like that, David Raven, fullback. Probably to the eye doesn't look like he would be up to much, but fantastic player for us. Aaron Doran, unbelievable, one of the best ability wise up there, but probably never kicked on to do what he should have done in his career with his ability, but he still had a good career up there.
Left-footed, wasn't he?
Left-footed, great technique. He played in the Premier League for in England a few times for Blackburn, I think, but yeah, they managed to recruit really well up there for the budget they had. They always managed to put a good squad together.
Yeah. After Inverness, you moved south. Birmingham City, massive organisation, club, everything that comes with that.
Yeah.
Does it have Rangers vibes about it when you're kind of walking through the doors almost? But you've obviously got now experience and life experience and a more mature head on your shoulders.
Yeah, probably. You're right with that. Maybe not to the size of Rangers when I got there, but when I look back now, I went back with Luton when I left Birmingham and I was thinking, what a club this is, like St Andrews, unbelievable stadium and great place to live. Loved living there as well. I think a few people from back home when I signed there thought it's maybe not a nice place to live. Me and my wife now loved it then, but yeah, when it came in that they were interested, it was an unbelievable chance for me. Probably a little bit daunting as well, going from Inverness in the SPL to a club like Birmingham in the Championship, with thinking the players they'll have and the crowds you'll be playing in front of. But
it's almost unheard of, someone moving from Inverness to that sort of level, isn't it?
Yeah, I was doing really well, to be honest, and I signed a pre-contract, and it's the one thing I'll never know. Like, if I was delighted to sign the pre-contract and go to Birmingham, but I didn't know if I'd waited out till the summer or what options I would have had. But Birmingham were really keen, and you're never going to turn down a club like that. I was delighted to get it done.
See, when a club like that is really keen on you, does it just become a no-brainer? Do you kind of take the decision out of your wife's now, her hands as well? Is she quite happy with that?
Yeah, we didn't have kids or anything, and
no real ties?
No real ties. Happy to... We quite like sort of travelling and moving to new places back then. We didn't mind. Yeah. Obviously, my wife liked working, and it's difficult for her to move from jobs all the time, but it was a great city to go and live in, and I think they wanted to, the last day of the window in the January, they wanted to do it then. Right. But it was weird. I really didn't want it to happen then, because we were in the semi-final of the Cup with Inverness. I was flying, doing really well. I think we were high up in the league as well. Rangers, I don't think Rangers were in the league then. Yeah. We were doing really well, and it was a little bit, my agent was like, you got to be ready, it might happen. I think they offered a little bit of money, and I think Inverness said, listen, every place in the SPL was worth 85,000 or something like that. If we drop 3 or 4 places, we're going to miss out, so we'll just leave it. Yeah. So it ended up, they didn't do it then, and I signed a pre-contract a little while later.
See, in terms of it's things like your wife and things like having to relocate all the time, like how does that affect them? How does that affect family life?
Massively affects it. It's probably sides that...
Because they have jobs and they have ties and friends and family.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely... My wife's been unbelievable for me, but it has been tough for her at times. She had a great job at Birmingham, really good, she really enjoyed it. And after a while, when I started missing out playing and not in the squads and not playing as much, I ended up looking to go on loan for a little period of time, but she's sort of thinking, I can't leave my job.
Can't move again.
If you're going to be coming back. So I ended up going to Hibs, back to Edinburgh, and she stayed in Birmingham for a spell just till I done my loan, because I still had a contract there. So, but she's massively supported me, and wherever I've sort of wanted to go, she's always backed me and come with me, and to be fair, we've made a good life out of it.
Absolutely. It's a huge dressing room down there as well. I'm going to write him off on our kind of few players. There was a decent Scottish contingent. Paul Caddis, Chris Burke, Scott Allen. Does that kind of help you initially within having people like that within the dressing room?
Yeah, I suppose so. There's the guy, Ollie Lee, who was at Hearts most recently. Yeah. He's a really close pal of mine, and he was there. I'd met him at a football tournament when I was at Rangers, the Hong Kong Sevens. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but we met over there and we got on really well, and we still spoke a little bit. So when I went there, I was like, right, he's there. That's one guy I can speak to. And I remember first day I went for breakfast and he was there, and he came over and was like, hi mate, I'm Ollie. And I was like, oh God, like, I thought he was going to be my sort of
you're
the one
safety
to
almost.
take me under the wing and show me about. But I'm thinking he doesn't even remember me here. I didn't really know it. Obviously, I knew Chris Burke from Rangers, but I was just a young lad. I didn't have much
kind of dealings
with him, or he maybe say a few words to me, but it wasn't anything friendly. But great changing room. Caddis was a great guy. We ended up really, really close. Scotty Allen, we got on really well, and Berkey as well, and we had a great changing room.
So there's those boys, but then there's a few bigger names as well. Jesse Lingard, kind of on loan from Manchester United. Peter Lovenkrands, kind of Rangers connection again. Big Zigic.
Yeah, Big Ziggy. Big Ziggy was a top man. Obviously, it's well known
what he was earning,
his contracts and things like that, but it's not his fault. He got given a contract,
of course it's not.
Who wouldn't take it? I think
was he decent? Did he down tools or anything?
No, he was
like
a
that?
good player.
Was
he was.
He
could down tools at times. Maybe he looked that way because of his size and
6 or 7 or whatever it wasn't.
His body language at times maybe looked like, or maybe it was times he sort of wasn't at it. There were certain games he came on, he was poor, but he was a lovely guy in the changing room. I got on really well with him, and on his day he was quality. But as you've said, Jesse Lingard's came in on loan. I remember Jesse came in first day, it was a Friday, and we do small sided games, and he was terrible. Was he? Yeah, and everyone was thinking,
this kid's come from Manchester United.
Yeah, like, why are we taking players like that? And he scored 4 goals the next day on his debut. I'm sure he came in for me in the 10, so I was sitting on the sideline clapping like, well done, mate. Yeah. But he was unbelievable. He was just, once he got settled in and started playing, he was different to the rest of us.
Did he have any sort of experience from kind of Manchester United and to kind of bring into?
No.
Or was it just a case of training with better players and being in a bigger environment?
Yeah, he was just a young lad, and he was quite naive in terms of he was a fun boy, and he was happy to mingle with the older lads.
Still outgoing and stuff like you see him now.
Yeah, he was like that. Maybe not. Once he started playing regularly at Man U, he probably came a lot more out of shell, but he was a fun-loving boy, and it was like he just loved playing football and nothing fazed him. And he came in and hit the ground running playing-wise, done really well. I played with him quite a few times and enjoyed it. And actually, when I was at Luton, we played against Man U in the Cup a few years later, and I played against him and sort of had a few dealings with him, and we had a wee hug and a shake of hands before the game. And if I've ever seen him now, I'm sure we'd have a nice chat. Yeah, absolutely. A couple of loan moves. You touched on Hibs kind of briefly there. Rotherham first. Yeah, that's the only real non-event in my career, probably. Really? Yeah. Well, I was at Birmingham and I wasn't playing, and I've never been the kind of guy to just sit back and be happy not to be playing. I know at times you won't play, but you just got to earn your way into the team, or if you understand that it's maybe not going to go your way, that's when I'll start to think, it's time for me to get some football elsewhere. So I spoke to the manager and we were happy to look at that. And if I'm right, I think Aberdeen might have been a little bit interested at the time, but then obviously it was dependent on wages and how much people were happy to pay. And I think Rotherham, they were in the Championship as well, but they were down near the bottom. Right. I think they basically came in and said that we'll cover his. I had a really good game up there, funnily enough, for Birmingham, so that might have been why they thought if he's available we'll take him. So they ended up just saying that we'll cover his wages, and I think Birmingham were basically like, listen, you're going there or you're not going anywhere because they'll cover it. So I spoke to my dad and I just thought, still in the Championship, if I can go there and play regularly and do well, score a few goals, then get my name back up in lights and kick my career on again. But Neil Redfern is the manager. I'm not sure if you remember Neil. Yeah. He took me on loan. He was really happy to get me, and we got a couple of poor results, and a few weeks later he got sacked. Yeah. Then Neil Warnock came in. Neil Warnock came in. Obviously a massive name, so huge personality. Yeah, it was quite exciting. But I was thinking, I'm not sure he'll really know much about me, or am I the type of player he'll want to play? But we had experienced boys, Matt Derbyshire, guy, what's his name, Leon Best, striker. People like that. A lad, Greg Halford, people like that weren't really playing at the time. And he came in his first meeting. I remember he was like, every time it was a joke, it was like, hey Darbs, or like, hey Best, stay in that. So we were all thinking, well, use her straight in the team. Aye. And that's how it happened. He went for all the experienced boys, and he sort of pulled me and said, listen, I don't really know much about you as a player. There was a friendly on the Tuesday, a reserve game, I'd already said there's no way I'm playing in that. And he came over and said, could you play in it? I was like, yeah, no problem. So I played it and done quite well, and I was involved with a couple of squads after that. I think we played Burnley away, maybe Reading, and Burnley away I came on, I think, and it was a tough game. It was like Joey Barton, Dean Marnie's, things like that, and I didn't have a great game. And
Dean Marnie was very good though.
Yeah, it was a tough game. And then a couple of weeks later after that, he sort of just put me to the side, and I wasn't involved for the rest of the season, just missing out in the squad most weekends. So for the next 3 or 4 months, I was like, I wasn't really a player. I said that to my wife. I was like, look, I'm not going to be involved, so let's just entertain ourselves at weekend like I'm not a player, because we'd missed out on a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
As a couple, sort of every weekend was football, so I hated the fact I had to do that, but I thought, I'm not going to sit about and mope. So yeah, we spent a lot of time together. I still had to drive up every day to train with people not in the squad, which was like an hour and 40 minutes to train with maybe 6 or 7 players who weren't involved. So things people don't see. It was, when I look back now, it was shocking I had to do that, but they were paying my wage. I had no option. So
I need to go with it.
Yeah, I had to do it.
How difficult is it being bombed at that sort of stage?
Yeah, that was horrible. There was nothing.
Are you in a separate dressing room and stuff, or are you just kind of away from the field?
There wasn't a great training ground there. It was really poor facilities. I remember when Warnock came in, he wasn't happy at all with he had a meeting saying, I can't believe this. There was no breakfast, there was nothing. He came in for breakfast the first morning. He's like, I've had to go to Shell to get a bacon roll. Like, I know it's hard for you, because he had standards from big clubs.
Of course.
So there wasn't even cleaners. Like, we had porter cabins. He was going into physio, who cleans this room? And no one. He was like, no one. Right. So you got cleaners to clean all that. It was like a golf clubhouse. So lunch was like in a room where there was people having beers and that in the room across from us, been playing golf, and we were in having lunch. It wasn't terrible, but it was a wee bit weird. The changing rooms was like home and away, like Sunday league sort of football.
Right, okay.
Home dressing room, away dressing room, half were in there, half were in there. So I think they've improved that a lot now, but the stadium is the selling point. Rotherham Stadium's brilliant. And I remember that game where I said I played well. Birmingham used to take a massive away following. We played really well. The pitch was unreal. It's like a enclosed stadium. Like, there's no real gap, so the atmosphere was brilliant. And so when I signed it, I thought, great place to go and play football. And I don't think they take players to the training ground when they sign them, boys. Take them to stadium.
Look at this.
Once they've signed, then you're in. But yeah, that was the purest time in my career, really.
Back up the road, Hibernian next. You've come in the kind of back of the Scottish Cup one. What is the vibe about the place at that sort of?
Yeah, well, so I'm sure that season I didn't take any break. Like, I just trained all through the summer, really hard, wanting to go back at Birmingham and give another good go. See, on that, sorry to interrupt, do you think, I'm not saying you down tools, but because you put less focus into that Rotherham thing, do you think you've had to kind of earn yourself and get back to that level? Or maybe slightly, but I've always been a good professional in the summer anyway. I didn't like taking breaks. They tell you to take 2-3 weeks off, but I hated doing that. Like, maybe not really battering myself running or anything, but keeping myself ticking over in the gym, things like that. I can't sit around for 2-3 weeks, feel bad about myself. So but I remember that summer I was like, I am on it. Like, as soon as even before the season ended, because I wasn't playing really. So I remember I came back to pre-season, I was flying. Like, the boys were like, you're flying. Like, I felt good in myself. First game of the season was coming up. I think the boys were like, you surely have my chance of starting here. I wasn't even in the squad. Left out, and I knew that was it for me. So initially I was thinking about going on loan, but around the area for my wife and us to be settled. Still local one. Yeah, and then when I was speaking to my agent, nothing locally was really coming up. He was like, do you want to look elsewhere? And I was like, let's look in Scotland. But I was like, I only really want to look at the big teams, like Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen, with respect to all the clubs, but let's have a look at them. And as soon as Hibs heard, like, Neil Lennon was really what I'm in the door. So obviously it was a difficult conversation with the wife over the weekend, because she was really loving her job, and when it was on that loan deal, she was not really keen on moving up there to find another job, to move back in the summer to find another job. So when you look back now, we probably shouldn't have done it, but I ended up going back up to Edinburgh and playing for Hibs, and it was difficult living wise, because I was having to travel back to Birmingham a lot to visit my wife, or she would have to come up. I wasn't in a settled place. I was in surfaced apartments a lot of the time because I wasn't settled. So it wasn't until a while later my brother my brother's wife helped me out. A lady had a flat in Leith
Right.
that wasn't being used, and I got in there and got settled, and that's probably when I started playing a little bit better at Hibs.
What is the kind of differences between South and North in terms of kind of standards and everything that comes with it?
I think the difficult thing down south was just probably the volume of games and the travelling, and it was Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday a lot.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're away Friday, back late Saturday, away Monday, back late Tuesday, things like that, which I loved. Like, I love playing football, and you love playing, but I was there for I was down south for a long time, and probably up Scotland it's a little bit more calmer and well, not the games.
Just a wee more regulated though in terms of kind of, when the time off's going to be.
I mean,
roughly,
this season's been a lot more sort of midweek games for us, which is similar to that, and we can see how difficult it can be. But 46 league games down there and cup games thrown in if you
plus
have
the EFL Cup and then
cups,
plus
things like that. Maybe the cups where
League Cup, FA Cup,
the Johnson Payne, things like that. Yeah, constant games. So that was a difficult part. It's a little bit more relaxed up here in terms of that. But yeah, it just depends what club you're at and whether the coaching staff and the managers setting the right culture and environment. That's important at a club, and certain clubs I've had were really good at that, and maybe others, if you didn't have that, weren't as successful. But just depends what club you're at, I think.
You talk about the training facilities at Rotherham. Is it night and day when you come up and see kind of HTC out at Ormiston? Because it's pretty special.
Yeah, Hibs training ground was brilliant, and I'm surprised it's took other Scottish clubs a while to, like, if I look at Aberdeen, for example, they've obviously got Cormac Park now, but for a club like Aberdeen not to have had their own training ground for so long was, whether it's financially, I don't know, but it baffles me a little bit. I'm not sure if Hibs were the first team sort of out with, I know Hearts had Rickerton and things like that, but you're seeing a few other clubs now. I think Dundee maybe got one now. Teams are starting. Kelly maybe. Dunfermline. Teams are starting to doing it now. It is important to have a good base. Hibs have had that base out there
for years.
Away in the country, just go and do their work. Good environment to come into every day, and everything there for the players to improve, and great place.
I think they're looking to expand it as well, aren't they? I think the current academies, or the current training centre is going to go towards academy in the women's team, and they're going to build another separate bit, kind of indoor facilities for the men's side. And
I can imagine that. They're a club that's
quite progressive.
They're progressive.
Did it feel like that when you were there?
Yeah, but even more so now, even the stadium and hospitality suites.
Yeah,
I've done a uni course not recently about sort of things off the park in football, and Hibs came up with the way they're progressing their club, with how they can boost their finances from suites, hospitality suites, things they sell in stadiums. Really nice. They were a progressive club, but obviously ultimately then they just had to get out of the Championship. They'd been in it a couple of years, and it was massively important, so it was quite a pressurised season.
The dressing room, I've got 3 players noted. Effie Ambrose.
Definitely Marvin Bartley, one of them.
Actually, doesn't.
You didn't?
No.
Wow.
I did speak to Marv about Effie.
Thought Marv had been on Effie. Effie sat next to Effie in the changing room.
How was he?
He was last in and first out every day. But in fairness to him, he was a very good player. He came into Hibs and done really well.
Yeah.
He was a very top player, but people only probably remembered him at times for mistakes. Which he was prone to, but he was a very brave player. Would take the ball. We'd try and play it from the back. Was courageous on the ball, which I quite liked about him, and he had a wee bit of the X factor about him, especially when he scored and he done his celebration. People just love him. You'll never meet anyone who doesn't get on with him. Even now, he hasn't been for a while back to Livy, but I'm not even sure. But is he down south? Maybe playing non-league or something? Maybe
for somebody who wasn't paying him. And he didn't realise how far away it was, so I believe he was commuting from Glasgow to Manchester
I heard that.
every day.
That's what he's mental.
It's like 4.5 hours each way.
Yeah, he was a great guy, and obviously when I came in here, he was training here as well, and nobody would have a bad word about him.
The other 2 I've got is Grant Holt, who's also now a wrestler, and Jason Cummins. Yeah,
Holty was top man. He'd moved up and away from his family as well, so
played at a very good level as well.
Unbelievable player, and he was obviously getting older a bit in his career when he came up here, but he was still brilliant to learn from. And he, as I said, he was away from his family, so me and him were quite close. We had quite a close group. Me, him, John was in it. John McGinn, Jason, Dylan McGee, boys like that. We used to
it's a really good standard, isn't it?
Yeah, unbelievable team. We used to socialise a lot, and Holty was top quality for us, and done really well in that cup semi-final when we were 2-0 down. He's the type of player he was, came on, massive impact, and top player. And Jason as well. Like, Jason was a weird one because before I signed there, I used to speak to a few people just thinking, what's he like? Is he a bit of an idiot? Yeah, like, and they were like, honestly, top man. See, if you get to know him, he's brilliant. And I got to know him, and he's the nicest lad ever. Yeah, top man. I think maybe back then, not long after, he scored against Hamilton, and he was sort of saying he could open a tin of beans with his left foot. And that. Right. Stuff like that doesn't sit well. Like, people who are a wee bit like that, if I don't know them, doesn't really sit well with me a wee bit. So I was thinking, who is he? Like, you've just got your foot in the door in football. Like, calm down. But I got to know him. It's just his character. He's just a fun-loving guy and very good player. On his day when he was at it, he was the one we'd look to think, get us out of a hole.
That McGeoch-McGinn debate kind of happened because it was all much of a muchness at the time. Kind of John was coming through. Dylan looked really effective, but John's just went to different levels.
Dylan had a few injuries when I was there, to be honest. He was very stop-start the season I was there. Obviously, when he played, he was top quality, but John was there every week, and John had a few games when he struggled as well. And Neil Lennon John was one of the most players Neil Lennon got on when I was there in terms of on his back. But I think it was because he expected so much from him.
Yeah.
John was probably even more than Jason. He was probably the one out of the whole team where if we're in a hole, we're thinking, looking at John to dig us out of it. He could come up with that bit of magic, whether it was a pass or a run or a goal to get us back in or to get the team going, and just physically strong and good in every. But he still had a lot of learning to do probably at that time, and Hibs was so good for him in his career. It's probably helped him to go on to what he's achieved now. And Dylan has had a great career as well, but maybe hampered a little bit through injury. If he'd stayed fit throughout his whole career, he would have went on to play at a really high level.
Yeah, John just looked so powerful even as a kid. I watched him in pre-season, and I remember him playing a kind of diag, and it was almost box to box, kind of corner to corner, and it was like, and to feet. I was like, my word, this boy's got a bit. Like,
honestly, like, he hated the gym as well. Like, he had the biggest quads ever. And he was if he had to go in the gym, he was huffing and puffing, and he was just physically strong. I don't know, his mum and dad were feeding him, but he was an absolute unit, and he knew how. The best thing about John was he knew how to use it. It's a hard skill to know how to use your body and shield people. Like, even in the Premier League now in England, like, you'll hold people off. Anyone, you'll hold them off. And it's a skill that, to be honest, it helps when you've got a behind as big as he has. But he was very good at it, and in the Championship, no one could take the ball off him really when he was doing it. But it was just the other parts of his game, just a bit of finesse and a bit of guile at times with maybe his final ball or his finishing, and that's what he's definitely developed, and he's one of the best players in the Premier League.
Luton, one of your most kind of happy periods in football?
Definitely, yeah, especially after signing, because if I'm honest, I wasn't sure about signing there. I left, I actually went on loan from Birmingham. I had a year left, and I knew I wasn't going to play, so Luton came in for me, and Nathan Jones was the manager, and I knew he'd been the assistant at Brighton when I'd played against Brighton a few times, and they played really good football. And I remember speaking to my agent. I was on holiday and I got a text, something interesting in England, so I was like, oh, happy days. And Luton came up, and it's with total respect to Luton, by the way, because they're a great club. But I was thinking, my mate was there, which it's probably bad me saying that. My mate Ollie Lee, who was at Hearts, he was there at the time. But I remember thinking, like, that's not interesting.
It's not done it for me.
Like, I thought he was going to come up with something like in the Championship or something. I was like, it's in League Two. Let me speak to Ollie. Let's have a look. But Ollie sort of said to me, like, we're in League Two, but we play unbelievable football. We're trying to play the right way. It's a club definitely moving forward. My agent was like, just go and speak to the manager. Don't have to commit to anything. But I hated doing that, because if I went, I was committed.
You're there.
Okay, where'd I sign? Like, but I was like, listen, I'll go and speak to him. So I went down, and it was brilliant. He had a presentation where I fit into the club, what he expects, standards.
Is that the first time you've kind of experienced that, or is that a kind of standard within?
No, I think that was the first time. Birmingham one was a bit. When I look back now in my career, I realise things that I probably didn't know at the time. But when I signed to Birmingham, I'm not sure I was the manager's signing.
Right, okay.
There was a scout who I spoke to after, and he said he watched me like 15 times that season, and he was kept saying to the manager, as a lad up here, you should keep an eye on him. And the way I got on with that manager when I signed, I feel like he never really backed me, and he took out on me quite a lot if he played poorly or lost. I get on fine. It's Lee Clark who was at Killy, so I've seen him since, and we've got on fine when we met, but I'm not sure he was the one who really signed me. Yeah. But when I went to Luton, Nathan obviously pinpointed me, wanted me. Yeah, I was obviously coming from a good level. He maybe didn't think I would drop down to Luton, but he obviously tried to get me, and I met him, and I just spoke to my dad, and it was just sort of thinking, let's go for it, because back-to-back promotions was the actual target, and Nathan genuinely thought that was a chance. He said that, and I thought, Ollie said it'll be football that suits my style, because League Two's sort of known as being difficult to
huff and puff and direct
battles, which ultimately towards the end of the season it did turn out that way. I wasn't playing, I wasn't getting in the squad at times, and a lot of the games were battles, and I was really unhappy with it. But maybe I understand, if I was to be in a manager's shoes now, maybe I understand why he done that. I don't agree with it, but there's maybe times I do understand why. But yeah, when I finished that loan spell, I'd sort of agreed to stay for 2 years, but after that loan spell I sort of said to my agent, let's get that cancelled, like let's just speak to him and say, because I hadn't been in the squad for the last 6-7 games, whatever it was, maybe more. Said to my agent, let's just have a word with him and say, happy to put that to the side and I'll go and look elsewhere. And Nathan was really not happy. He said, look, I recruited you for the higher levels,
right? Okay,
we just had to get through that level, but just trust me, sign the contract, like you're going to be a massive player. So
were you shaking at this point, being that kind of wee boy, yeah, of course I'll sign?
No, like, I was actually quite stubborn back then. It was at the Player of the Year Awards. He pulled me over and I was a bit like, he's like, why have you not signed your contract? I was like what? How can you say that to me when what's just happened for the last 8 game, whatever it is, like not even made the squad at times? Why? What? That day we got promoted from League Two is one of the worst days of my career. Really? Yeah, I was in the stands,
just not part
of it. Had my
tracksuit
on. Yeah, the boys got a draw. Ollie scored. My best mate in football scored to get them promoted. They're all flying away over the fans, champagne, the flags are out, everything. I've got to come down. It was at Carlisle away. I've come down on the pitch, my tracksuit on, just feeling terrible, like not a part of it. I felt a bit emotional, if I'm honest.
Back of the group kind of just got the fans.
Nathan sort of cuddling me, you've been a massive part, because I played the first 6-7 months, I played a lot. You've been a big part of this. I know it's been hard for you recently, but when you just don't feel a part of anything, just didn't like that day at all, and that's a massive part that made me think. We had a bus parade and everything, and I was like, as soon as it pulled over, I was away. I was like, I'm not a part of this. That's what I felt like. Stupidly, maybe looking back, Ollie, my friend, was like, you've been a big part, and try and enjoy the day, but I just couldn't.
It's probably easier to remember that kind of short term though, which was closer to the event.
Absolutely, that's the mindset I was in. It was hard to then flip it and go, all right, I'll go and have a great celebration. I kind of did after it, but at bus parade, everyone was so happy, and I was just thinking, I'm not happy here.
Let me off.
Yeah, I need home, and that's when I was thinking, I'm not signing. Like I can't do that again. That's what he said. Just trust me. You'll play. And we went into League One season. The first 2 or 3 games, I was on the bench, but we played Portsmouth away, and the boys were unbelievable. We got beat 1-0, but they were so good in the game. I think the second game was Sunderland. We drew 1 each at home. Boys played okay. Then we went to Peterborough away, and I think we were 3-0 down after 40 minutes or something. I came on, done really well in the second half. Came back to 3-2. I think I maybe had a hand in a couple of the goals, and then after that I think I started nearly every game. Up until then I got Players Player of the Year and won the league and had a great season. He'll probably say, see, you should have trusted me, but
exactly.
If they hadn't lost that game at the start of the season, I might have found it hard to get into the team. But yeah, I ended up doing really well and going back promotions.
See, when you're in that phase, you've kind of signed, not reluctantly, but you're there. The boys are not picking up as many points as what they'd hoped. Are you kind of almost happy inside?
What, in the League Two one, do you mean?
And kind of start at League One, so they've maybe picked up a couple of points they've lost there. You're thinking, all right, if this continues, I'm going to get my chance here and I can come in.
Yeah, that's the selfish way football is, to be honest, and people might deny it, but ultimately you need the team to play poorly, or the person in your position to play poorly for you to get a game. So if you're sitting there thinking, I want that guy to have a great game, I want us to win every week,
I want to go and win 3-0, and
then obviously you do want that. You want to be part of a successful group, but you want to play games in your career and you need to get in. So part of you will be thinking, if they have a poor game, that's a chance for me to get in. And the first game they were really good away at Portsmouth. They got beat, but the manager was very happy with it, and I was thinking, fair play, they've played well. But that Peterborough one, they were really poor, and I managed to come on and have a good effect in the game, and it's a day like that can flip your career on its head, and that's what it done to me. Ultimately, I played nearly every game. First name on the team sheet probably, or certainly one of them, and played every game till the end of the season and won the league.
Favourite stadium down south that you've played in?
What, for any of the teams from down south?
Any of the teams. Because Luton's quite iconic, isn't it?
Luton's a fantastic stadium. Yeah, it doesn't look it like when you go to it, but the atmosphere's, I think we were unbeaten in that league one season. Yeah. Very tough place to go and play. I played at St James's Park in the Cup for Newcastle. It was sold out. That was quality. Played Ellen Road, Fratton Park, Stadium of Light. Yeah. Probably a lot of other ones as well.
So huge venues, wasn't it?
Yeah, even Birmingham, the Hawthorns, like West Brom. Played a lot on unbelievable grounds, and some things I can look back on in my career on and be proud of.
Yeah. Charlton, your final club down south before the good stuff.
Yeah.
Relocation, or did you kind of stay where you were? What's
well,
how far is it between kind of Luton and Charlton? Is it?
Initially when I went there, I really was keen to stay at Luton. I wasn't. Nathan left. Nathan went to Stoke in the League One season, and then Graham Jones, who's a coach in Newcastle now, came in, and then COVID hit in the Championship season with like 9 games to go or something, and we were adrift in the relegation zone. We thought we were down.
That was it.
We'd done a few Zooms. The chairman came on and just said, listen, we're going to be starting up soon, and I think you need somebody in who can really get you going. And Nathan's square popped up on the Zoom, Nathan Jones. So I was delighted. Like, I was buzzed because I didn't really play or get on really well with Graham. I got on well with him, but I was in and out of the team, wasn't a regular for him. So when Nathan popped up, I was delighted because I was thinking that's good for me. Like, I'm going to play.
He likes me.
He knows me. I feel like he can trust me. Hopefully I'll play. He came back in and done unbelievable, kept us up when we shouldn't have, but didn't go as well as I would have hoped. I didn't play as much as I thought I would. I did play a few games, important games away at Huddersfield, things like that, and we won 2-0 and we did stay up. But the second season after that, I was in and out of the team, and he recruited other players in my position, and I just sort of thought, there's a Charlton came up with a chance to go and play, and it's an unbelievable football club, but I didn't want to give up on Luton. It's one of them when you have hard decision, like you think about it so much, and I think it was the last day of the window or 2 days to go. And Nathan was speaking to me, and now again when I say I look back, I think he wanted me to go then, but he was being nice, like you'll get game time here, but you don't have to go if you don't want to. Take your time, I'll buy you time, stuff like that. So initially I texted saying, look, I'm not going, I'm going to stay at Luton, I'm not giving up. Like, I'll get games, I'm going to fight for it. And then a few hours later, I think I had a chat with my wife and that, and I thought Charlton's an unbelievable club. Like,
huge.
Lee Bowyer was the manager. I just thought, no, I'm not going to play at Luton, let's go to Charlton. So I texted my agent, and the last day of the window, I think we done it, and Nathan got Dewsbury Holland from Leicester, who done unbelievable for them, and that's probably ultimately selfish. That's probably what he wanted to happen. Without telling me truthfully to my face. But when I left, he was probably, that was a green light for him to go and bring him in. So I loved it at Charlton, unbelievable club, and I was only there for a season on loan. But if the manager hadn't changed, I maybe would have had a chance to stay there. In terms of Lee Bowyer played me every week and liked me, but he left. Nigel Atkins came in and sort of wanted to bring the age down the squad. There was a few older players, and I was the one. Sort of, I had a good season there. I had good numbers, sort of assists and goals, and I was sort of the one sacrificed and had a few run-ins with him. I wasn't happy with the treatment I got, but it's football ultimately, and I ended up moving on.
In terms of kind of Lee Bowyer, just quickly before we do move on, do you look at somebody like that who's playing in a very similar position to you, played at the top level? He's obviously been at Newcastle, Leeds United, and like how good were Leeds when he was there in kind of early 2000s? Do you look at that and think, I can go and learn from this guy? Yeah,
definitely. And obviously I played against Charlton as well when I was at Luton. They were a good team. I played at the Valley as well. I got sent off. You can imagine that. But yeah, 2 yellow cards, and we were actually 28 games unbeaten, I think, from Luton in that league, and Charlton beat us at the Valley, and the atmosphere was unbelievable. I remember we were 1-0 up in the first half, and then the second half they turned it around and went 3-1 up, and when the crowd got behind them, it was so hard to stop them, and that was a big factor. When I look back, I was like, why am I turning this a chance to go and play there down?
It looks quite tight as well in terms of the actual fans on top of the pitch. Almost.
Yeah, they're
It's
on
got
top
that
in
kinda-
this big stand. Unfortunately, it was COVID at the time, and it was just when they were starting to let drips and drabs back in. I never got to
fully experience.
Yeah,
it.
I thought I'd maybe be there long enough to get the crowds back in and play in front of a packed sort of Charlton stadium, but didn't happen that way. But just the area, I ended up travelling, to answer your question. I went to get a flat and it fell through last minute, so I just thought, I'm just going to travel. It's COVID, there's not a lot of traffic. So it was taking me like an hour 15 minutes every day to get there, and I didn't mind it. I was going home to my house where I was settled, and my wife, my dog, and that was there, so actually it worked out better. But just the area, driving to the games through London, things like that, was quite a cool experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. Let's go to the good stuff. The reason we're here.
Get all that boring stuff out.
Exactly. Cut all that out. Cut all that out. We've only spent an hour on it. Livingston.
Yeah.
How does it come about, first and foremost?
Well, obviously I left Charlton, so I think it's stupid that I think, but I was having a baby with my wife at the time, so there was just seeing what was out there. I'd played down south most of my career, so initially it was sort of thinking, let's stay
there.
Down south, let's see what the best club I can sort of get.
Yeah.
A couple of things came up. I think after COVID it was quite a tough time. It was quite slow to teams moving for people financially and things like that. Spoke to the Cowley brothers at Portsmouth. Spoke to him on the phone for an hour. He was a really nice guy. He was quite keen, but a player had to leave before he would think to take me. And I met Richie Wellens at Doncaster as well. I think they were in League One at the time. They were quite a good club, similar to Rotherham with their stadium. Played really good football. He's actually doing well now at Leyton Orient.
He is. Yeah.
Sort of met him, things like that. He sort of wanted to take me, but under certain conditions, things like that. And I just thought, I've always wanted to go back to Scotland. That was always my aim. Scottish football was what I loved. Like even when I was down south, I used to listen to the Scottish football, like the radio. Yeah. Like if I wasn't playing, I'd listen to the Scottish football on a Saturday. Richard Gordon, things like that. Yeah.
12 o'clock. Yeah.
That's what I loved. Check all the games. So it was always my plan to go back there at some stage. Yeah. And then when things were a bit slow, I just thought, with having a baby and that, I'd been away from family so long, just thought probably be, if I'd went to Portsmouth, it would have been a nightmare when I look back. So hard for family to come and visit and things like that. So yeah, it was just looking everywhere. And then I'd obviously played with Marvin at Hibs, and Marvin knew I was available, and I'd obviously spoke with the manager, and Marvin phoned me a few times just seeing if I'd be open to it, and Davey stole the phone off him every time I answered. But they were very keen, which I like. I've always been told sort of,
you want to feel wanted.
Go where you're wanted. Yeah. Go where you're wanted in football, because they'll genuinely care for you. Like Birmingham manager, for example, he probably didn't know what I was like. He just he trusted the scout who'd watched me, he was very close with, and he thought, right, I'll trust you, I'll take him in. Yeah. Whereas, and to be honest, with the manager, it probably was a part of, he's looked at my career. He maybe didn't know loads about me, but Marv had probably said, I'm a good lad, and he'd played with me, and I've played at good clubs, and it maybe was a part of that. Let's get an experienced player in like that. How much the manager knew about him, how I played, things like that, probably a lot, but maybe just in terms of my career and where I played, it was a good chance to get an experienced player in. So when it became available and we thought to go up the road, I just thought, why am I waiting for other people who are not keen at the minute? Like, why am I waiting for that? Like, Livingston are a good solid SPL team, Premier League team. Marvin and the gaffer are there. They'll be good for me, so what am I waiting for? So I just thought, let's take it.
See, in terms of the kind of infrastructure change and fan bases and everything else, you've come from, say, massive clubs kind of down south. Do you find that difficult to adapt to?
Not to adapt to. I'm fairly adaptable, I think, my career to any. I mean, I've had to be at Livy, especially on the part. But
how many positions have you played?
Everywhere but the back four and the goals, I think. Which there's still time.
There is.
But obviously, you want to play in the best atmospheres and biggest clubs you can. That's what you want. Ultimately, what you want to do in your career, to look back on. I have done that at good clubs. But sometimes when it's slightly smaller fan bases, it can be more passionate. It can be louder. Like, sounds stupid saying that, but our fans are quite passionate and quite loud. And if you've got 1,000, or you could have 10,000 that maybe aren't as loud as the smaller fan bases. So I think Livier, doesn't matter how many people are there, if they're passionate fans, you got to do it for them. That's what the club's about. That's what the club's about. You've seen it with COVID. Football was nothing without fans. It was so bad. We look back now, and if there wasn't fans at games, it wouldn't be worth playing football. It genuinely wouldn't be. So they're the lifeblood of the game, really. And no matter if you've got 100, 1,000, 50,000, it's up to you to go out and give your all for them. And I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah. There is obviously a wee bit more of a kind of personal touch around the building, I'd imagine, as well, because there's kind of less bodies, so you start to form kind of stronger relationships with. Don't tap the table, Connor. You start to form stronger relationships in and about that as well, don't you?
Definitely, yeah. Livy's a very tight knit club, and everyone gets on so well. Everyone chips in when jobs are needing done. The manager will be drilling plasmas up in the canteen, and the physio's doing the kit with the kit man, and I love that about it. Obviously, budget wise, if you could get as many staff in, you'll get Rangers coming with 40 staff hanging around the tunnel and 10 security guards and all these things. I even
remember being in their media room kind of last season, things like that, and there's 150 people in their media room.
Absolutely, yeah. Budgets just determine everything, but sometimes you're thinking, what are all you doing here? Do you need all that? But obviously they do. I've been at Rangers and I understand the standards and the amount of stuff players maybe need and demand. If we do it, Cheb tells us to get to. But no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I get on so well with everyone. That's why I liked coming back this year. Just obviously looking to see where my next move would be. And when I spoke to the manager about coming back, just the thought of coming in every day and seeing the people I'd left, like Mo upstairs, Karen, Jude at the front day, even Al, John, people that you see every day. It's just good to think I'll go back in and say morning and have a chat and see them all again. So yeah, I enjoyed coming back.
Missed out in the top six kind of first season. How frustrating was that? Because we were so close. Yeah,
that was probably one of the worst days since I've been here. If I remember rightly, we were 2-0 up, I think, cruising. Was it the Motherwell game? We were 2-0 up and
Rickalami.
We just had to win, didn't we? To get up. We were 2-0 up and they had hardly laid a glove on us. I think Slattery scored a worldie from 30 yards or something.
Then a very late header, I think.
Yeah, I remember because we had Adam Lewis had a clearance. He had an unbelievable left foot. One of the best technical players probably I've played with. Yeah, he had a chance to sort of get up the park, and he sliced it out for a corner. If that goes up the park or anywhere else, game's done.
Well, there,
Not that it's his fault, but obviously we gave away a corner. They've piled everyone up. And then there was a Rami, I think it hit the bar, maybe came down, had a few ricochets, and then Lami's put the ball in the net, and it was just shock. It was just shock. Changing room was
deathly
quiet. You could hear a pin drop, which is unlike us. And I remember the manager was quiet as well, and I think he thought we were all going to be coming for each other, and but everyone. I would normally speak up a lot in the changing room. I just had nothing to say because it was just shock. You thought you were there in the top six and it was taken away. That was a difficult day, and I think we actually done well in the bottom six that season. Was that the Hibs and Aberdeen games?
11 from 15 is what I've got down in terms of points.
Yeah, because I remember I think Hibs and Aberdeen were the first two after the split, and I think we might have beat them both.
Yeah, I think we did.
We went to Pataudry and won 2-1, I think, and can't really remember the Hibs one. But
how difficult is it to motivate after that? So obviously I think we've taken 11 from 15 the first season, 4 from 15 in the second. Is it kind of going through the motions or?
No, definitely not. You'll never be allowed to go through the motions. The manager would never allow you that there. I can't remember how safe we were from relegation, but I think there was still the fact the first year the manager was thinking Hibs and Aberdeen first two games, if you lose them, that's a 6 point swing potentially. Other teams can creep up on you. I think we were quite a bit ahead, but if you lose 6 points, you're looking over your shoulder. Thankfully the boys were bang at it as they always are here, and we went up and we got 6 points from Aberdeen and Hibs, and we ended up ending the season really positively and had probably more points. I know it doesn't matter, but we probably had more points than the top six, maybe the sixth team, maybe fifth. So it ended it well, but if we'd gotten the top six, it would have been unreal.
The relegation season, let's touch on that kind of briefly. How difficult is it going from the season we've kind of had previously to struggling to pick up points week in, week out? I think we went 17 without a win before we beat St Mirren. How difficult is that on a daily basis going into?
Yeah, it was really difficult because it wasn't like us at all. And actually that season we started quite well. We were unbeaten apart from the Old Firm, I think we were unbeaten a wee while into the season.
Road and things like that.
Yeah, started the season well. Decent draws against Aberdeen, beat Hibs away.
Yeah.
Looked like we were going to have another strong season, and then when you get into a rut and you get into bad runs, it can be very hard to get out of it. And it wasn't through a lack of trying, like the manager and the staff, everyone was grafting really hard, but for one reason or another we just didn't have enough that season. And I always thought we'd get out of it. Most of the season I just thought we're going to go on a run, we're going to pick up points, and we just never did enough, and deservedly so. We probably got relegated.
Yeah. How's the dressing room after when it's confirmed? It felt like it was
coming. Yeah,
I was with you. Like, I thought we'd get points on the board. Eventually, we'll get there. We'll go and challenge, and then it got to the stage of
where you were sort of expecting it. Yeah, which doesn't make it any easier, but it probably did get to a stage when we got relegated. We probably were going to get relegated anyway, so it was so disappointing. Just a few little things here or there. I just probably will let the standards slip a little bit compared to what we're used to sort of in training. Probably things around the club being allowed which shouldn't have been, which I don't like going into saying, but you got to have standards at a club, and that's the top clubs, the Rangers of this country, Rangers, Celtics, they would, if you don't adhere to the standards and you're not at it, you won't play for these clubs. We maybe weren't strong enough on the training side of things, discipline wise, and being at it every single day. Maybe let that slip a little bit. And if you're in the Premier League in Scotland, if you're doing that at a Livingston team, so-called smaller teams in the league, you'll struggle. And that's what happened, and we paid the price.
Absolutely. You become a free agent after that, kind of released in the summer, kind of out of contract. Do you have kind of other options at that sort of stage? Yeah,
well, it was a wee bit slow, to be honest. At my age, people will take a bit of time. They'll look for maybe other younger players, but there was a few things came up which wasn't what I didn't feel was right for me or my family at that time. And it wasn't real concrete options. But
was that still in North? Was that still up here?
Yeah, in Scotland, but it was a bit more travelling. We'd have been away from home a lot more. Listen, if it came to it, I would have maybe thought about it, but whilst I was looking at options, obviously the manager phoned and we had a chat, and if I'm right, I think I heard him saying he never really wanted to let me go, but he had to look at strengthening a lot of other positions in the team and totally refreshing the changing room, which I get, that had to be done. But I think the manager quite likes me around the place and off the park, and being a good person around the place as well as playing. So when he's phoned me about potentially coming back in and bringing that side to the club, I was quite excited by it. And like I said, great club. Love coming in every day. I've never not liked coming in to my work every day, and it suited everything. It suited my lifestyle as well. Had another little girl as well, had a baby, so everything was settled and just made sense.
Not even either having to travel too far, not having to relocate. You know the ins and outs, you know how the gaffer works, everything else, it just kind of...
Yeah, absolutely. And
you can play about 1 million positions as well, which...
Yeah, obviously it's a funny thing, that, because I don't mind it at my age. I quite like being versatile for a manager and being able to help cover places that he needs covering. Obviously it would have been probably since I've come to Livy, if I'd probably nailed down a spot and been able to play regularly in that spot, I maybe could have settled a lot more at the start. And when the first few years here where I played in the midfield was pretty consistent. Jason Holt, Scott Pittman's, Omiongas, it was like they were the first name on the team sheet, so maybe I had to play it wide, up top, whatever. It can be difficult when you're coming in and out and having to play these places. The relegation year I actually played quite regularly in the six, and I actually thought at times I played quite well, but in a season like that it maybe doesn't feel as right because you get relegated and you don't feel good. But
is that quite difficult though, moving from say something like a six to going playing off the left, because it's different roles, different responsibilities?
It is, but I feel like I've got a decent football brain and technically I can handle the ball, I feel, so any positions like that, six, I feel I can go in and there'll be sides of the game that other people can do better. Well, that's the same for any player, really.
Absolutely.
Some player might be a lot better at destroying the game and breaking things up, but they might be a bit worse on the ball, or as a winger, I might be able to come inside and link the play instead of people one-on-one being able to beat people. So everyone's got different attributes, and wherever I play, I just try and give my all. And if a manager needs me to go in and play a role, whatever I'll do, I'll just try to give it my all. It's all I've ever done in my career, really.
Yeah, perfect. Going to go with those other 5 from the start. So asked girls are the same ones, but it'd be good to get a different opinion. Future manager in the dressing room.
I'll go for, I think, Danny Wilson. I sit next to Danny in the changing room, and we speak about that side of the game quite a lot when we've watched games, or our game at the weekend, sort of things we could do better. Yeah. Danny's got a good football brain. He's intelligent that way. Stephen Kelly, maybe. I know he's a young boy. I think he started his badges recently, but he knows the game inside out. Got a good football brain as well.
Yeah.
So
one of those two.
For now, probably one of those two. Yeah.
Dressing room DJ.
Well, that is me for this season. I actually think it's been decent, but I've never been a dressing room DJ, and I've never really wanted to be. But this is the thing. And
do you get things thrown at you?
This is the thing in changing rooms. You get people who are quite chirpy in the changing room, and they're loud. And then when it comes to who's putting the music on, they all go quiet. Who's doing it? I'm not doing it. No, I'm not, because they're worried about the backlash from the boys. No one was stepping up, and there was no music on whatever game it was. Because I actually joined late this season. There was games before. I think it was halfway through the League Cup or something. Right. Yeah. So I was like, it must be somebody might have left or something. Yeah. So no one stepped up. So I was like, right, I'm not bothered if I get stick. I'll put it on. So I just put the music on, and it's stuck ever since. I think the boys don't mind it. I've had a few compliments. So yeah, it's been me.
Fair. Funniest.
I think, because Gowser, I think, said Reese, didn't he?
I think he did.
Reese is funny, but it's a bit show pony funny for me.
Is he?
He's funny. Gowser's all right.
Yeah.
Gowser's got a dry sense of humour, yeah. He's funny. Me and Danny have a good laugh as well. Brando. Brando and Boobsy, actually.
There you go.
Yeah, we love giving each other a bit of stick, especially Brando and Boobsy. Right. Them two, the amount they hammer each other is mental. But yeah, Brando and Boobsy like having a good laugh.
Love it. Best and worst dress sense? I think Smithy got absolutely pelters.
That's harsh. Smithy's okay. Yeah. I think that's turned into like a thing in the changing room. Just come for Smithy's gear. I think it's because he gets defensive as well about it. Smithy's okay. Worst. See, I remember Gowser saying I have a right bash when I come to training.
Yeah.
But for me, I just dress normal. Probably my age in that as well. But I'm up early with the kids, and the clothes I put on it's not like I'm putting on a suit. I'll put on smart casual trousers, a t-shirt and a jacket. But boys come into training, like, I look at some of the boys and I think, how have you left your house looking like that?
How have you done that?
Like, I can't believe it. I feel bad naming names. So I'm not, the one thing I will say is, because Brando, I always get onto Brando, he wears these like Ugg slipper shoes to training. A few boys have done that over their time, and I'm like, how are you leaving your house with them on?
How's that?
He said they're meant to be worn outside. I doubt it.
Sure, the likes of Cheb and stuff's on that as well, no?
Cheb gets on me. I wear check shirts all the time and shout timber. I'm cutting trees. But best, I'll go. See, I've not really seen people outside football, so if I'm going from in football, I'll go. I think Danny again. Maybe because I see him every morning, but Danny dresses quite well. And worst, I'll go for Boobsy.
Going Boobsy.
Yeah.
Final one, smartest. Most intelligent.
Most intelligent.
Got to throw yourself up there now.
I would like to think so, yeah. Probably the older boys, yeah. Myself, Danny again, Gowser. We've got quite a few intelligent. Dan Finlayson's quite intelligent. Brando's okay. There's probably other ones, even like Jerome.
Yeah.
I know he's obviously from abroad and that, but I think he's quite an intelligent guy. Yeah, there'll be others I've missed out who are not happy with that, but we're actually an okay changing room, I think, for that.
Yeah, decent. You've had a few late winners this season. There's no better feeling in football, is there?
No, there's no better feeling than scoring a goal, honestly. Like, it doesn't matter what level you play at, like how old you are in your career, when the ball hits the net and it's a goal, especially with VAR now, like
half celebrate.
I sort of when there is VAR, you don't know if it's a goal, like, but now even in this the championship, sort of if the ball hits the net and if the linesman's flag's down, like it's a goal.
You know you're good.
Yeah, so if you score in the last minute, there's no flag, you know it's a goal. It's unbelievable. If you could bottle it up, you'd be an absolute millionaire. And the one at County was unbelievable. Great feeling. Obviously the Airdrie one as well was really good, and we've had a few throughout the season. You don't want to win a game like that, you want to be comfortable and cruising, but when you do it, it's a great feeling.
I think I asked Davey that actually. I can't remember what game it was, but would he rather be 3-0 up at half time and cruising, or have that feeling at last minute winner? I think he picked 3-0 up and cruising.
3-0 up and cruising, but 3-0 up is not cruising, because we were 3-0 up at St Johnstone a few seasons ago, and by 60 minutes it was 3-2 and we were nervous. And then Penners put one in the top corner and we were okay after that. But if you could be 3-0 up with 10 minutes to go or something, and you know the points are in the bag, then I would take that over a late winner. But you can't be a late winner.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask you, we've obviously run through your whole career, your dream five-a-side team that you have played with.
Yes.
I know we discussed this off air before we started.
It's tough. I'd need to put some thoughts. I'm going to say people who I've forgot about. Right, so we'll start. Do you need a goalie? You should have a goalie.
You should have a goalie. I'd probably go goalie, one defender, two midfielders and a striker. Right.
So goalkeeper, I would probably go for... we had Darren Randolph.
Very good.
At Birmingham.
Very good.
Came from Motherwell. Played against him at Motherwell. Played it. He was unbelievable. Ended up moving to the Premier League, I think.
Yeah, I think he did. Yep.
West Ham, was it? Or something like that. Right. When I think back, he's probably right up there, one of the best goalies.
Let's go with him. Defender?
So, depends what kind of attributes, doesn't it? If it's a five-a-side team. Short, small pitch, need to be good with the ball.
Need to play.
Can I just put it in the channels?
No. You're going to throw Effie in here?
No. Oh, do you know what? Effie actually, that's the kind of game for him. Go and take the ball, play it, dribble out from the back. Let me think. So I'd have to go with people who are technically good on the ball. Let me go with... There's a guy at Luton, Sonny Bradley. Left footer.
Very good.
Tall. Yeah. Very good in the ball. Technically very good. Good defender. Leader. Solid. He probably stands out. Did you say two defenders?
One defender. Two midfielders.
One defenders, right. I'll go with him. There's probably so many others that I've missed out, but
so many boys raging.
Let's go with him, yeah. Two midfielders.
Two midfielders.
I'll go with...
Jesse Lingard could be in there.
Jesse would be unbelievable in five-a-sides. Yeah. Because when we played five-a-sides in training, he was...
Small-sided games.
He was so good. Probably go for... I'd probably put him in there.
Yep.
Jesse, who else would I put in?
Do you need a runner next to him?
No. No runners, no. I'm not about that.
All technical.
Yeah, it's got to be technical. I'd probably go with Steve Davis from Rangers. I always remember, like, when I was coming through, like, small-sided games, boxes, like, he was never in the middle boxes. Like, I always felt like he was a step ahead. Yeah. That's what I always thought about him. Like, he always knew what he was going to do with the ball before it came to him. And I always remember looking at him thinking he's an unbelievable player. I think he played in the Premier League, didn't he, with Aston Villa and things like that. But when I look back at my career, when someone asks me that, he always sticks out as one of the best I've played with.
He's superb. And give me a number 9. Well, figuratively speaking.
Myself. Number 9. I've played with some decent number 9s, by the way. It depends if I'm going off my career and who has played really well when I've played with him. I'd probably have to say Billy Mackay when I was at Inverness. He scored about 30 goals one season. He went team of the year and everything. Yeah, like
through an incredible spell.
And he would be that kind of player. Yeah. Because he came here actually and scored a couple of seasons ago. Yeah. Because I remember the manager sort of pointing him out, but saying, "Look, he's a bit older now." Like, and I was thinking, doesn't matter. Like,
he's got a bit.
Yeah, his finishing and his movement is top dollar, and he scored 2 unbelievable goals here. So I've probably played with some really good names up there, but from what I think back in the link up I had with him, I'd probably go Billy.
Like it. Final question, Chins. What's your favourite moment at the club so far?
There's obviously been a few decent highlights for myself. Obviously the Celtic one when I first signed.
Yeah.
That was a great day. Just I remember the manager pulled me in the week, just flipping open the laptop and showing me what he was thinking, and I was looking for my name and I was like, am I not playing here or something? And then I was like, oh boom, there it is up there.
There it is. Shinnie 9.
I sort of spoke to Marv and he sort of said, I think he's thinking about potentially looking at you doing that role.
Yep.
And then when he said to do it, I was like, let's do it.
Let's
go.
go.
Let's practice it in training. And
yep.
I actually studied. Sounds a bit busy, but I actually watched clips of like Fabregas at Barcelona. Then he played false nine a lot then, and sort of similar characteristics in terms of he wasn't a pace, power, athletic. He was intelligent. Yeah, how did he do it? And I know it's totally different. That sounds stupid, but how can I try and play like this?
Still look at movements and things like that.
And so I watched in, and it's one of the most I've looked forward to a game because I didn't feel pressure. Because I thought if this goes wrong, it's not my fault. Like I'm not
expected to do much up
I've
there.
not played up front before. If I don't do well, it's because I've tried my best, but I didn't have the experience maybe to do it. But I genuinely thought I can hold the ball up, I can win free kicks, or if I get a chance, I can stick it away. And then we ended up winning the game 1-0 and played really well. So yeah, that would be up there. Probably probably a couple of the ones this season. The Highlands was a great day. Just to knock a Premier League team out of the cup after going down last year just showed like it's
good to get one back in them as well because they scored so late against us.
That was a big goal in that season actually. I think we were 2-0 down and we came back to 2 each.
2-2 and then Josh Sims scored later.
Yeah, if we'd sort of kicked on there and maybe won the game or even held on, we were quite close to County then. Did that put them 6 points maybe ahead of us or something like that?
It was a big moment though.
That was a big moment, which is fair play to them. But probably refreshing the group and having a good challenging season up the top of the league and then going knocking a Premier League team out the Scottish Cup was a good feeling.
Superb. Andrew, thanks very much. Really appreciate your time.
No
thanks again, and thanks to everybody for tuning in. This has been Down the Vale, the only official Livingston FC podcast. Check out Taylor Talks Trades and Taylor Roofs, everything they do in the description box below. Thanks very much.